Yo, it's mAng and Neads show. Sonic Garden Radio. How are you today?
Yeah.
Another great day. In case you missed me, here I am.
You're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. mAng and Neads show here.
Well, shit. What's
So,
up?
man, we had some major glitches, and we've been unable to go live for a couple days here, but I think we finally fixed this.
Yeah, I had to fire the IT department, but here we
You know
are.
what they say when sometimes when you want something done right, you just gotta
Watch
do
you
it
do
yourself, you know?
Gotta watch old mAng do it, because I don't know anything about
No, but it turns out like the encoder processor that you use to bring all these videos and everything together, even though it was showing us that it was streaming and that it was live, it was not uploading on YouTube. And I don't know if they just changed something. And I did hear about the they came out with the YouTube Studio, which is like I guess a different way to route it. And I think that's their I think that's what they were doing. So yeah, but what's kind of cool is that just like anything, once you figure out the change, it added some new feature. Whereas like before, when I'd be running this show live, oh yeah, you still got. I always don't turn your music down. You gotta let me know.
That doesn't. It's just I'm the
no,
only
'cause
one
it's-
getting the music.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
on mine, and then yours.
Oh.
So so before I'd have to like open up YouTube on my phone and kind of open it up, and then I'd be able to respond to comments and things. So now this is like I put in its own screen. So we're running this live. I can see what's broadcasting, like the actual image, and any comments as they pop up. So,
I can't see shit. I'm going blind out here.
Yeah.
In case you missed it though, man, mAng and Neads show. Oh, we had a hell of a show yesterday. Someday we'll release it.
Yeah. Well, I'll hope to. I think I might have figured out. At least that part. I mean,
We'll
there's
recap.
There's a couple different factors. I was just mulling over in my head that there was a message from YouTube that said, for the same reason as anybody else, their people weren't going to be as many people available to check streams, and
Right.
that
Until they
potentially
get that cash money from the government.
right. So potentially they would be blocking things that weren't necessarily blocked. So.
Right.
So that was kind of a
Well,
a
if you missed it, we
factor.
talked about John Jones driving drunk again, supposedly.
Yeah,
Some stuff like that.
and
It's a quick little recap. Check it out if you haven't heard. He was out there in what was it, Zona? I
yeah.
believe it was Zona, out there drinking and driving with a firearm, supposedly.
Ooh.
So they're gonna test the gun and test the gun casings of the bullet to make sure it wasn't involved in any homicides. So
Because that's standard
Yeah,
operating
for anybody.
procedure.
for anybody. So we've got numbers.
Yep, we do. I have a fresh map
So
up.
since we were here, so Thursday was the last time any of you would have saw us, and our numbers were. We are like shattered where we were then. We were like in 88 or 90 something back then. Now, where are we now?
115 is what I got on.
All right, so
116 on the worldometer.
yes, 116,448 so far today. So that basically from yesterday, that's 12,322 cases. We're up, which we don't want to be up in. We're up from yesterday, 247 deaths, which is
And
not.
let me add to that.
All right.
We've been tracking this for 2 weeks, and the numbers that
Yes.
we have seen in all cases have always been the recovered number had been higher in every situation. And for the last 3 days, our death count is higher than the number of recovered.
Oh.
And maybe 2 weeks ago was same. I don't know, man. I'm just saying that this is kind of scary. What's really scaring me is the amount of resistance to this.
So basically, what we were
and how it's all party line. Like how can something like this be a party line issue? But yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to detour.
No, that's.
I'm just like I don't get it. I don't
basically,
get it.
though, we've been until I'd say Thursday, Italy, Spain, Germany, and the U.S. were all like around 5,000, 6,000 new cases a day. But yesterday and today, we've been like today we're at 12,322 cases since yesterday. Like we're just like they're testing more people. I believe. They just put out in the news today a company. I don't remember the exact company, but they've got a test where you can find out in 15 minutes. If you're positive or negative, it'll be out at the end of next week. They hope to have 50,000 of these out, so it'll speed up testing a little bit. And they're still doing the other forms of testing too. What else we got? What else we got here? We've got
Italy's still soaring.
Yes, Italy's not fucking around.
Basically, like this is just looking at this setup. It's like it's like this marathon run, and China was leading this baby, got the head start.
Right, because they were definitely weeks and months ahead of us, or month ahead of us.
So
and ahead of Italy, China, and Spain. But now that it's over here in all these other countries, it's all on how are you fighting against it. But like I said, though, before, China's government's a lot different than, say, a Spain or an Italy or USA. They, obviously every country does stuff a little different. They have no problem with locking their whole country down and
right.
or the cities and making the people stay at home. But that's not how the USA rolls. Like, there's shelter in place and social distancing, which you should be practicing. Fucking people still aren't, which is holy shit, man. Some people, I guess, just need to get it to realize that it's fucking real. They're still out fucking shaking hands. It's I don't get it, man. I mean, I guess if you don't give a fuck and you don't care if you get sick or you get somebody else sick, then yeah, whatever. But man, it's a fucking bad attitude to have.
Yeah.
Right?
It is. I mean, it just, like I said, it's just the, I put a post out a few days ago and I still get a couple stragglers coming in.
Couple jabs here and there.
Yeah,
they're still looking.
Comments.
They want to talk to you, Angela. Everybody wants to talk to you. And nobody want to talk to me.
But, then everybody's talking about, so then it's like, oh, we need to get out there. And it's like they just don't understand the overwhelming the hospitals bit. And I guess at this point, they're just writing off like, oh, New York, oh, well, but when it hits home, they're going to know it. And today, like I said, I said on yesterday's, even though it didn't air, that I was getting a notice that the hospital was getting bad, that there was people coming in.
Oh, they're putting up the containers I see out front.
But even on top of that, it was explained further to me that, like, supplies, even things like cleaning wipes and like bleach and things are, somebody's coming in and they don't know, and they're sitting in a waiting room.
Man,
That's
you got to be careful with that bleach.
And then once you're sitting in a waiting room, all of a sudden,
Evidently, I'm not a bleach mixologist, because I used some the other couple weeks ago, and I used a little too much, I guess, with the water, and holy fuck, man! I think I like torched my lung. Well, I know I did. My lungs. I guess you're supposed to only use a little bit. I fucking, like everything else I do, I went fucking overboard.
You did it in your laundry?
No, I was over there turning some black shirts.
Oh, okay.
Into white, parts of them, so I could do a little.
Oh yeah,
because I come up with this idea, because I print shirts here and there. Well, that's what I do
sometimes.
Yeah, so I come up with ideas, and I wanted to try it out on a black shirt, and oh fuck, I did a great job, but holy fuck, I inhaled some of that stuff. Jesus Christ, don't do it. Fuck, man, it took my whole Existence in my lungs.
Yeah,
Bleached it. Yeah, dude. Oh, fuck yeah. Some powerful stuff.
Bleach.
Yeah. Bleach it.
Gets the red out.
Yeah, it does. Fucking A. So doesn't lime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sonic Garden Radio.
mAng and Neads show. Hey, we're looking to get 1,000 subscribers.
Just all you gotta do is hit that little subscribe. It's red.
Ding dong bell.
And then there's a bell if you want to be alerted when him and I are
live.
I did it
like
right. You like that?
Did.
Oh man, JB's education is doing me well.
I don't know. We'd have to evaluate it.
What, him and I?
Him and I.
Right? Him.
Would you say him? Would you say him?
Him and I?
Would you say?
Yeah.
No, say the sentence again.
Him and I?
No, say the first part.
Oh, what'd I say?
Yeah.
Oh, him and I.
I don't feel like.
You know what I was talking about?
Well, in that case, you wouldn't say, like, I'm gonna go get him and I.
No, I'm gonna go get you and me.
Yeah, you'd say,
no,
or him and me.
Right, but
because if you drop the him, then you'd say me. You wouldn't say I.
Me and
so
I.
You don't say like I'm gonna go get I.
I'm gonna go get I and me. Did you know what I meant though?
Yeah.
Then shut the fuck up. Yeah. Shit.
You brought it up.
I did.
I was saying sometimes tricky.
It is. So, well, I thought I was making progress, JB, but evidently my education isn't going as
I think I saw JB
promised.
Was camped out at his place watching doing some watch party videos or something.
Yeah, the Lion King probably or some shit.
Yeah.
No, I seen him the other day, and he was on the phone, and he was over there behind the cars over there on Moscow Avenue, and I yelled. He was on the phone, and he was doing something, and I yelled to him, and I'm like, "Yo, you practicing that fucking social distancing, aren't you?" Because I think I don't know what he's up to, but he said he was. He's trying to stay safe, so
yeah,
that's good.
He needs to.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah. Shout out to JB.
Sir. JB, Little Jimmy's printing.
Little Jimmy. He's off the ramp.
So, surprisingly, we went 2 days without, we didn't go with the cast yesterday, so then I got a message today from a few people saying, what happened?
So don't for a second think we didn't do one, though. We did one, folks. We just that one's now in our back library, maybe like one of them rarities or never before seen. We'll pull it out one of these days.
I'll put it out if I figured this out and I can upload it the way
weeks.
I just did.
We'll just pull it back from the archive. After we're gonna set that in the archive for when the world's over. Somebody will find it.
Yeah, it's
put it in a capsule. Put it in the ground.
Reporting a day late.
Yep, day late, dollar short. All right, so I drank enough coffee because I'm fucking wound for sound again. It's Saturday, if you didn't know.
Saturday,
March 28th.
Yes, and we're just tracking the latest with the coronavirus, and practicing our social distancing. Beyond social distancing, we are on a full lockdown in my world. As far as I'm only traveling here to this place where I've been, where I'm keeping keeping clean. Josh and I stay away from each other for the most part.
We do,
but here we are, man. We're doing this thing. So, hey, the call-in number, 607-373-HEAT.
Heat.
Anybody wants to give us a call.
It's a mAng and Neads show.
We'd be happy to get you on the broadcast here to discuss whatever you got going on.
Oh, start calling people.
Situation.
You should call Swings up and see what he's up to.
I tried him yesterday, but he did call yesterday, so hopefully maybe if he sees this live, he'll call today. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We got Joel Peter. He sent us a message too. He's kicking it.
He is.
He sent me. Did we bring that? We did talk about it yesterday, but he sent me that clip of Bob Dylan's latest song.
Oh yeah, it's like 16 minutes long.
16-minute song about
JFK.
JFK.
Blown
assassination.
Away.
Yeah.
What else do we got to say?
Yeah, there's some cool words in there. He's got some cool cool Dylan words.
It wasn't too long. It couldn't have been too long ago, right? Sounds like he was on his in his 60s or 70s, or what do you think? It wasn't. It's not like it was from like the.
No, it's new.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like he's 60 or 70 years old. It's not like it was back in the. Sorry, I said that wrong. It's not like it was back in the 70s or.
I think he's actually pushing 80 right now.
Right? Really?
Yeah.
78? Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah, he's right around the same age as my dad. If
Right.
not, like maybe I think he was like born in 39 even, so a couple years older.
Huh.
My dad's 41. For 1941.
Really?
Yeah, man. The guy, he's seen some different things happen.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You think about all the way things have changed since we've come up, and then you look at how far things have come.
Yeah,
since
Bob.
he
Like,
came up.
yeah, I was right. 78 years old, Dylan. Is 1941.
Okay, he's the same age as my dad then.
Right.
Wait a minute though.
Uh-oh.
It's almost his birthday, so he'll be
May 24th.
He'll be a solid. So he's got to be 79.
He's going to be.
It's going to be
79.
okay this year.
Yep. That's what he's going to do. Going to make a turn for the 79. Yeah, so they were around for the World War II and shit. Vietnam, a couple wars, bunch of wars. Now
Yeah.
they're alive for this fucking pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have definitely seen a bunch of fucked up shit, bunch of fucked up presidents. Yeah, I said it. I don't give a fuck.
It's true, man.
Yeah, it is. I don't give a fuck.
But oh yeah, that reminds me. So I did check my mail, and I got this little card. I
You
got
did?
a card from it says "Slow the Spread: President Trump's Coronavirus Guidelines for America."
Huh.
This is dated March 16th, and it just basically gives you the feel sick, stay home, don't go to work. Children are sick, keep them at home.
No rim jobs.
Older person, underlying conditions, stay home. Someone's tested positive, keep the entire household at home. If you're young or healthy, you're at risk. Activities can increase the risk for others. It's critical that you do your part to slow the spread of the coronavirus. It's very, it seems very, very simple. What everybody's doing, and he seems to agree. But currently, we got that debate going on of whether or not to just get back out there. And I think that it's kind of crazy to think that even with us attempting what we're doing now, and to have these numbers climbing so rapidly and so much higher than China and Italy, and just based on our population and the cities, it's really gonna explode more.
So they passed a budget, $2 trillion. That's what you also missed yesterday that we talked about. I think it was like $60 billion towards airlines.
Yeah, and that one's a really motherfucker, because the problem is last time when they had an abundance of cash and they got a bailout, they bought back all the stock, which is the ultimate
Right.
Bullshit, because now they need money again, yet they wouldn't need so much
Well, last
money.
time somebody got a buyout too, it was like they did that to the automotive industry.
Right.
They bailed them out in like 09 or 08
and then
or something.
they just paid off
or
all
6.
their investors
Yeah, it's all.
to make
I mean,
them comfortable.
so if like you have if you have a business and you fucking run it fucking into the ground, no one's fucking looking over your shoulder and like, yeah, man, we'll give you another chance. Here's a fucking boatload of money. Fucking figure it out, or you're
and
not
then
getting help next time.
Well, then what's even worse is, okay, so you do that, and then you turn around, like, so a big thing with this, what passed, is that it does not stipulate. Well, basically, it does, but then it also puts like a sum of money just up in the air. So it'll be like 6 months before we even know where that money went. So like 6 months, like undisclosed, and all these things that in 6 months we'll be going, oh, that's what this money went to, and then new debates will start over whether they deserved it, or the next thing.
Right.
Yeah, annoying.
Huh.
So, 115,000 cases in the U.S. right now. 116. Maybe I should update this because things are always moving pretty fast.
Yes, they are, especially in America. Americans.
Yeah, we're definitely
up on the.
Yeah, twice as many deaths as there are recovered currently, and hopefully there's going to be more recovering. But I know that New York City is
25,226 critical or serious right now. So
there is, we're at 6,000 new cases just in New York today.
Jesus.
So far. 12,000 cases already.
Yeah.
And so far, it's just so exceeded even our expectations on the show or what we were saying. And it really, I got to pull that one map up again to show.
Italy's been pretty consistent. Not that it's a good thing or anything like that, but they've been right around the 5,000 or 6,000 new cases a day. And it hasn't really slowed down for them. China had slowed down, and they reported like none at all. Or right now they're at they have 54 since yesterday. Like I said before, Spain's they've been rising, man. They've been around 5,000 or 6,000 a day themselves. So none of this is good, obviously. 889 new deaths in Italy. So here we are.
So,
Manga Needs show.
Yeah, man. Here we are, March 28th. So I did pull up this covidactnow.org one
right
about the
right here.
Yep, about the curve and like where things are going. Today, it is still under capacity, but we are inching towards a full overload, and
in the hospitals.
Yeah, that's going to take place. This is New York.
Right.
Overload in the hospitals is going to be on April 8th. So that's the number that we're looking at right now.
So basically in in 10 days or so, or something like that?
Yeah.
Around there, 11 days.
That's the worst case scenario for the shelter in place, which hasn't been taking place. So that's kind of where I guess we're saying that this that this is going to climb.
So now we're going to go look at so Louisiana. We're going to look at Louisiana. We're going to break this down real quick.
Sure.
So Louisiana had 5. Well, I guess we'll drop down. We'll drop down to PA.
Okay.
Pennsylvania had 533 new cases since yesterday and 12 new deaths. Louisiana had 569 new cases and 18 deaths. Washington, they have 3,723 cases and 23 new since yesterday. So then we're back up into this higher number, kind of. Florida, they have 565 new cases since yesterday. Florida's seems to be doing all right, like as in their numbers are high, but their daily cases has slowed down a bit. They 189 new cases since yesterday. So then you get to the real fucking glue down there by New York. New Jersey since yesterday, 2,299 cases. And then you fucking take a look at New York, 6,056 new cases since yesterday, 122 deaths since yesterday. So, like, when they tell you New York's the hot spot, they're not fucking kidding one bit. And it's basically, there's a lot downstate, or down from where we are, but in New York City.
It's spreading, but as you can see,
and they're trying their damnedest, but they got makeshift morgues outside of the hospitals and shit down there, man. It's like they were not, so far, everything they've said about the hospitals getting overwhelmed and all this.
Yeah, it's just even these
they're
numbers
not joking.
Is you're comparing a new cases of 6,000 to deaths of 122. today. But can you imagine 122 bodies? I mean, I guess they're spread. I don't know, man. You got to figure that.
Man,
if,
that
if
one
it's
hospital in
concentrated-
Queens was
right.
so fucking packed that I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but oh man, they had lines outside. I mean,
People obviously, if you don't have it when you show up, and obviously
right.
people going. I mean, there is a bit of a scare right now where people are going in for everything, and
they had them inside the hospital.
Every
They had
cough.
3 deep inside the hospital, like in chairs and stuff, of people that couldn't breathe and shit like that, and that were sick and either had been tested or needed to be tested, but they couldn't just send out of there.
right.
But they don't have beds. They're not joking when they say they don't have beds down there. The ship from I think it's USS Comfort is headed from I think Norfolk, Virginia, down to the city. Should be there sometime this week. Now they're not going to put COVID patients on there. They're going to put patients that are in the hospital with other stuff in there on the ship, and then they can use their bed for the COVID on the regular hospital. So. And one ship landed in Cali, which they were doing the same thing. It got there yesterday. I do not know the name of that one.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
crazy.
half-ass reporting, but hey, man, you can't do it all, right? There's only 2 of us. So you're listening to mAng and Neads show, live on Sonic Garden
That's
Radio.
right. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
I forgot to share that link, but I think I got it now. So maybe we'll get a few more people, tuning in here.
Oh,
but hey, the call-in number is
607
607-373 HEAT.
And now what's the number? What's the 4 digits?
4328.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got a comment on the
Oh,
Facebook
no.
thing from Vinny, but
Pooh Bear?
yeah.
What's he got to fucking say?
I don't know. We haven't heard from Vinny. I haven't in a while.
What's he
see
got
his
to say?
updates. He's seems to be doing pretty good.
Good.
But he
I
did
love-
ask
I love
me.
Pooh Bear.
He said, "Will we be covering the cigarette and vaping ban?" So I'm not really sure about that
Yeah.
whole deal.
I don't know. I mean, I don't smoke or vape, but
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware of any smoking or vape ban.
I don't know. Yeah.
So give us a call, Vinny. If if
call
you
us
got
up,
some
Vinny. Let's have a
information
couple
about
words from you.
If we got some information about a vape ban, we'd love
Yeah.
to hear it.
What are you vaping?
I sent him the number.
THC?
Vape.
Vape. Vape it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're out there vaping.
So,
I see all the commercials about vaping, about not to vape, and then they're taping like vape pens to people, and they're jumping in the water and they're destroying shit. I don't know. It's kind of sends fucked up messages, but
huh?
I don't know. I don't vape.
Vape
No,
it. You're
they're-
jumping in the water with
Yeah,
the vape?
Yeah,
pen?
because they don't want you to vape. They're trying to destroy all the vape shit. So these people that vape before, like this guy tapes one to his chest and then does like a fucking what do you call that?
because now, swan dive.
Yeah, with just
A
yeah,
belly
like
flop?
a belly flop. Yes, that's what I wanted. Is a belly flop.
You had arms extended.
Yeah, because I forgot. I don't know. You thought, do I look like I should be doing any belly flops? I'll break in half. Fuck, man.
No, that's why I was
Jesus
thinking
Christ.
you're gonna nail a perfect swan
I
dive.
jumped off of that Bosse's Bridge before, fucking back in the day, fucking whoo, nude.
Nudely.
Yeah, not fucking scared a bit when I was young. I guess jumping in the water was like a fucking extra bidet, fucking clean you right out. So what were you saying? Sorry,
I don't know.
Interrupted you once again.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
All right.
I don't know, man. I'm just one day at a time, checking
Right.
in on everybody. We're trying to bring this show every day just to keep the morale up, give everybody something to do, something to interact with. If anybody wants to make that call,
Yeah, man.
come on, 607-373 HEAT. Bring it.
Remember social distancing.
Yeah, it could save your life. Could save your a lot of people's lives.
Quit fucking around, people. There's still nobody still fucking gives a fuck.
Yeah.
How you like that? I threw three
fucks in one sentence.
Right? It was a good one too. It was a hell of a sentence. So anyway, I see these people are all over, man. They don't care. They think that they're good friends with somebody but if they're hugging you and hanging out with you, who are they going out to hang out with and hug? You know what I mean? Come on now. It's like
we've entered the world of actual cooties. You know, it's funny. It's like you
made a funny.
Well,
like your cooties.
It's another one of those things I say about life, where all of a sudden you find out things that you did not think were real,
right?
Or things that were real were fake.
Like some of them people that didn't believe in herpes or AIDS until they got them.
Yeah, but how about this one?
Tell me.
Bed bugs.
Right.
Like bed bugs were just a thing people said as a joke to scare kids. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Turns out, they're legit, and it happens all the time. And when people
have you gotten into a batch of them?
I personally have not.
Me neither.
But I've heard some stories.
I've seen motherfuckers that got all bit up, and they're like, they're taking pictures.
Yeah,
they're like, I got into some bed bugs.
Yeah, and
where the fuck are you staying?
No, it's even nice places, because it basically is just something to do with, like, they get into luggage, but they can lay dormant. They can lay dormant for like 18 months or something.
Right.
So they'll just like hide in this little crevice of your luggage, and then all of a sudden they come out. And
next thing you know, they're biting the fucking shit out of you.
Yeah, and then they just live off dead skin, but they don't need to.
Right.
It's just they're nasty little creatures, and I guess they reproduce.
They hump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Humping.
So Trump, he's proposing a 2-week quarantine on New York City, the metropolitan area. And our man Cuomo says no discussions about restrictions yet. So we'll have to keep you updated on that.
What do you mean no discussions on restrictions as far as like martial law type?
Yeah, is that so far? Yes. That's exactly what I mean. And our President Trump also says New Jersey, parts of Connecticut. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. I mean, they need to do something like that, or this shit's just gonna keep rising like bread, man. Fucking, it's happening. No one seems to be. They've done some stuff, but obviously it hasn't worked very well.
Everything is always.
Well, I mean, it's not working too well. If you got 6,000,
he's a reactive. He reacts.
Who?
He's Trump. He reacts.
Well, it took him fucking a month, didn't it? Come on now. He's all proud about shutting down the borders.
No, I'm saying
of like China, or letting people in from China, but he waited a fucking month and a half.
And he didn't do it for the right reasons.
And I don't care who if it was any other president, I'd say the same fucking. I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's not just because it's him. I'm saying that. Like, I don't. Whatever.
I just have a problem with all the negative stuff that he said. You know, leading up to this, you know, and obviously it's like you can quote and
we're going to do it bigly
and video clip, and the biggest one he said is there's 15. Medical. He goes, there's 15 cases. Pretty soon it'll be 0. I think we're doing a great job.
Wait, he thought it was gonna. What do you think it was gonna? What was it? Disappear?
He said, yeah.
No.
Well, there's a miracle that'll disappear, but everything he said,
miracle.
It's like one day he says, you know, you get this letter in the mail that says do all these things.
What's
and then
that
the
lady
next
say?
Day,
What's Baker's wife say?
It's not even a problem. Wow.
Oh, boy. Fucking A. You're listening to mAng and Neads show.
Sonic Gardens Radio.
I'm Neads. He's mAng. Thanks for watching this.
Yeah, waiting on any call-ins here.
Yeah, no one wants to call.
Anybody wants to...
Feels like when I was in the first grade. No. No one wanted to hang out.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No, we got some. We definitely got some viewers out there. So
we do.
You know, we're just trying to get 1,000 subscribers.
Pooh Bear didn't want to call.
Try to keep this thing going.
You had shit to do. Uh-oh.
Yes, yes.
Well,
what else?
What else we got?
I don't know. Get over an hour on this show so
Really?
far. How's that? No, that's on my recording thing.
Yeah, that's
No, we're
back footage and shit.
35 minutes in. Yeah. What else? I'm still going on my floor project. I'm like
Lady Gaga's birthday.
I've been kind of getting into
In case you needed to know.
the housework stuff.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's going good. I'm like killing it. I'm almost done.
Huh.
It looks really great.
Awesome.
And I'm excited. I'm already like thinking about what's my next project. Might as well get some things done.
Right.
Yeah.
Got time.
I mean, shit. Honestly, this is just an extension, but it's nice. An extension of the winter in a way. As far as like
it's
the
not
life.
real nice outside, anyways.
Not today, but yesterday it was pretty nice.
It was okay.
And,
yeah, it was 49, 50 or something. But yeah, we're not really missing the spring yet.
Right.
Up here.
Yeah, we're just taking it easy, kicking back. I got food. I've been cooking a bunch of food. I haven't been. I mean, obviously, it's not the. I don't know if it's a. We should be supporting, local businesses and things, but just to protect, myself, I'm not going and ordering out any food and picking things up. I'm on lockdown.
Yeah.
So I do that one trip to the store. I got everything I need. I'm still pretty stocked up on food, so I'm all right now.
Right on.
Me and my son, he eats a lot of food, but
he does.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a big motherfucker.
He's gonna be a big boy.
Yeah, he is.
But the school thing isn't exactly great for him because he's not huge on self-discipline. So so he's kind of struggling to keep himself any ambition to do anything. So he's kind of spending a lot of time on the internet, like a lot of us are, I guess.
Right.
But
currently am.
Yeah.
On the internet.
Internet.
So 652,743 cases worldwide, if you were wondering. 30,325 cases worldwide. Or deaths, sorry. Phew. Fucking bring it back, Jeff. So I'll say it again. 30,325 deaths worldwide. If that's not like a eye-opener. So basically, these numbers are like this, but if nobody did anything, they'd be fucking way higher. So anybody that's saying, oh, this is more deaths or this is more cases, well, no one locked the fuck down for anything else. So if you're going to say that, like, think about that too.
It spread from China, and now New York's infested. So it would have went from New York to Atlanta to Philly. All these cities
Chicago, don't forget Chicago and LA.
They're going to be the big. All these are going to continue to be the hot spots, but it doesn't seclude anybody. I know that there's over 100+ people in Norwich, New York that travel to every major city to perform telecom work, and they have, for years. So once economy is fully kicking again, you're going to get people traveling from here to Philly, back, and if the tests aren't out there, then it's just going to continue with the same spread. Gas pumps, I mean, everything, man. That's like, gas pumps have got to be one of the worst, right?
Touching them?
Yeah, that's got like 12 hours it can sit on that.
Nah, well, it's rubber and shit, so no. Well, just wear a fucking rubber glove like this. Take it off. Wash your hands after you're done pumping gas. Don't touch your face on the way home. If you have the luxury of having hand sanitizer, use that in your car. Rubbing alcohol kills it. If it's over 90% isopropyl, I believe. So
yeah, vodka is not a good enough solution.
Unless you're fucking living
typically
in old
not
school
wasting the vodka
with the Devil Springs.
So
you got Everclear popping around.
So the raw numbers say that the 25th there was 18.1 thousand, and then yesterday 17.8. So, or no, I'm sorry, that was 2 days ago.
Oh,
So that's what I'm saying. We're multiple behind, but in other words, this is not going to be an indication that okay, now it's going to start to decline.
Right.
I mean, like I also said, I think that really the numbers are based on how many tests they can get done in a day. Because I don't understand how they can, like say, oh, it's like, are they diagnosing the case as soon as it walks in? Then that could obviously be screwing up some numbers too. So Italy, with their 92,472, according to this last update, they've had 10,000 deaths and 12,000 plus recoveries. That's a total of 22. So they still have 70,000 outstanding cases.
Terrible.
Of their 92.
Huh.
China is they kind of curbed the thing.
China? Yeah.
And then
nipped it in the butt for now.
So again, looking at these stats,
people roll around and
yeah, with their mask on and just mingling through, but not still keeping
those
their
masks
distance.
they're wearing. Every doctor that knows anything, those masks they're wearing has said that those unless it's an N95 or better, it's not doing much, man.
It's more like I was thinking that it was more like they're not protecting themselves. They're basically being courteous of protecting everybody else. It's
from
like
them in case they got it.
Right. It's like saying
so you can't cough.
It's like saying I don't have to cough. I don't have to cover my mouth when I cough or sneeze because I'm not sick, so don't worry about it.
Right.
But so it's just kind of
sick in the fucking head.
Yeah, it's just kind of a courtesy for people to wear masks if you look at it that way. So it's like
right, but I'm saying for those people that think that that's going to save them from getting it and they're near somebody that has it, they're wrong.
Right. It's going to prevent them from spreading it. So if everybody follows that deal, then nobody's spreading it because everybody's being courteous.
Right, but that's not the case. As you could see in our nice little hometown, people are out, not today because it's raining outside, but yesterday I saw huddled around car and shit. Like they're not at the grocery store. I didn't go. My mom tells me she's down there. People just going down there. My dad says just to hang out at Walmart. Like, come on, man. It's like
that's like the worst place because if you look at even
it's a hotbed.
It's a hotbed of if you break down where the hotbeds are, they're where the people are.
Right.
And where are the people? They're at the grocery stores. They're at the now, especially now.
Aisles, my mom they had to get some shopping done. They said you go down certain aisles and you got 4 or 5 people just in a fucking huddle. Talking
it's almost like a I said before, it's almost like a holiday time where like people are like being merry about their
I gave her the old you go down there and you see it, you don't even I go out 10 feet, man, just fucking if someone's in that aisle, go to a different aisle, get what you need and go back. Fuck that shit. You don't need to be fucking getting sick. That's the last thing she needs. So yeah.
So, you got everybody with the car accidents kill this many people, and we got and honestly, the thing with car accidents was they were worse at one time, and then they implemented seatbelts, and it totally curbed that pandemic, you could call it, but yeah, you got to get it down to a reasonable level, and that's the big thing.
Yeah, it is a big thing.
Consumer protection.
So some doctors made a pitch in New York to ban cigarette sales amid the coronavirus outbreak.
That seems like
seems like fucking shoddy work to me.
That seems like a
shoddy
risky
doctor, or
a risky situation to put people that are already extremely stressed and take that away from them.
Right.
It almost is like could put people into a certain panic of what's next.
Right,
they're gonna be like, okay, Doritos, no more Doritos, and then you're like, okay, I can deal with that, and then they're like, no more, whatever, no more food, no more bread. Sorry. Yeah, so yeah, it's just that whole thing. Luckily, you know, one time I went shopping, everything was there. There wasn't anything. I mean,
Really?
it was limited in certain things. Like,
Did you look down the canned goods aisle?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I guess not everything was there. There's no canned goods. The canned goods and there is canned goods, but they're just the shit nobody nobody typically gets.
Right.
Like I said, there was some lasagna soup left, and
Lasagna soup.
Lasagna soup.
I'm gonna
Campbell's lasagna soup.
never had it. I don't eat.
You don't typically eat the soup.
Well, not that soup. I never tried that soup. I don't know. You did the same thing. Like our parents, like when we grew up, like I don't know, like they made soup or stews and shit like that, and you try some of that stuff like from the store, even the good stuff in a can. It ain't. Ugh,
So gross.
Yeah, it's not.
It's true.
I mean,
yeah,
it's one of that old thing, like which you're used to something that's good, and then you start trying stuff and thinking, oh, this is gonna work. It's not the fucking same. It's not even close. I'd rather not eat it. Or eat, I guess. So I do eat some canned fruit though. They do not have any of the kind of canned fruit I want though. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, also
none of it's good for you. Well, anyways, part of what we're saying is that the way that our parents came up, and then even into, you know, when we were kids, is that you know, like just the whole concept of food too. You know, like disconnection of food. Like when my father was young, they had chickens outside, right? And you know, you can't have chickens in the city of Norwich anymore, right? But you know, back in the day, you could. Everybody did, and that's how exactly. You know, that's where you got your eggs. That's how you then you ate the chicken, and you know, he just talked about going in the backyard and catch a chicken and swing it around and snap its neck, and then you know, grandma freaking pulls all the feathers off, right? And, you know, does the work. So I'll tell a story. Neck in there, yeah. So it's like, but we've just become so disconnected from food that, like, you know, even if you know we can cook, maybe not, but like, you know, mostly, yeah, it's just a different world, you know. So all right, so when you grew up, you couldn't have chickens in the city, right? Yeah, as far as I know. Right. So when I grew up, we're the same age. Mm-hmm. I grew up out of the city, though. We could have chickens up there. We had chickens up there. So my neighbor was as cool as hell, dude, like all-time great guy. So like my father and him and the other neighbor, they'd get like pigs. He had goats, and he'd let the goats just run all over. Like the goats would come over and get on my mom's car. Like you'd come out in the morning and there'd be a goat on top of her car, dude. It was some great shit growing up there. But anyways, we had chickens. But there'd come a time when you had to, well, you didn't have to, but it was that time of the year, let's kill a few chickens. So Curtis and I are like, I'm like 8, Curtis is 4 or 5. Time to kill the chickens, right? So they finally, when we got old enough, like 8 and 5, or maybe we were a little younger, one of us would get to run the hatchet. So they'd take and we tie a string around the neck, right? My dad or Eddie would hold the chicken. If I wasn't chopping, then I was running the string. So they'd lay it down. You'd have a hold of the string on the head, and then Curtis would chop it, and then it'd come out, be a quick whatever, and then they'd dip it right in the hot pot real quick to get the feathers off. So that's the kind of childhood Curtis and I work. That's some work. Yeah, man. But we got right off the bat, man. We were like, we wanted to get right into it. Yeah, man. It was, you know what I mean? Survival of the fittest, right? Well, we were all about that shit when we were little, man. Well, that's where we're at now. That's like what we're up against right now. Is right. We're being faced with this Darwinism. He had this little cradle mentality. Too. Like the goat would walk up there, and then you'd lock the thing behind it, and his head stick out, and then we'd milk the goat, man. Goat milk. Yeah. So we had a little fun when we were little, Curtis and I.
So he did everything like we do it. So if I, you know what I mean, I was 3 years ahead of him. So everything I did, Curtis did it younger. So he was like ahead of the curve, kind of, so to speak, like, well, between me and him, or him and I.
Right. There you go.
JB coming through in the clutch. All right. You're listening to Mang and Neads show. Sonic Garden Radio.
That's right.
He's Mang. I'm Neads.
That's right. We're having a good time.
Yeah, we're having
doing the best we can in this quarantine
social
world.
distancing is what we do out here.
So
I'm here. He's 22 feet, 0.6 inches away.
In the control room.
Yeah, behind the glass, through the door. It's Saturday.
Yeah.
The 28th.
That's right.
We're back.
And just in case anybody, new to the channel.
We have not heard from JFK either, man. Really hurts my feeling. I only have one left, but it hurts it. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, for anybody that doesn't, tuning in, that doesn't know what Sonic Gardens, we are a music recording studio.
It's beautiful.
In Norwich, New York. And we also run this show, the Mang and Neads show. We have another show, Sonic's Corner, where we follow like UFC and some of the sports stuff
Gino
gets in
and
on there.
Rhino.
That's right.
Actually.
And
myself and Angelo.
And those guys, everybody's on quarantine, so we pretty much locked the place down. Josh has a shop here on the property where he does his work and his business. And so we're kind of here anyway in our own thing. And we've been doing this. What are we at now? We're at day. It's got to be day 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, day 13 of the lockdown, and we're just trying to do what we can to stay connected with everybody out there. And we got a phone line if you want to call in. We do have
a phone line.
Give an update where you're coming from, what you think about all this stuff.
What's going on in your world?
And we'd be happy to hear from you. 607-373-HEAT.
Where's the animal expert?
Animal expert Ryan Warner. Hoping to hear from him.
JFK's up there in
we got
fucking sticks. Looking for dudes or something.
He said he's just getting ready for the apocalypse, so
he's been watching too much fucking TV, evidently.
Yeah. I do have hope that things are gonna get back to normal. It just
well, I mean,
it's just gonna take a little while.
If they rush it, no, we're just gonna come back into this same deal. We're gonna come out, it'll be cool for a few days, and then it's gonna spread like herpes for a bit, and then we'll be locked back down. But so here we are. I mean, like, we're locked down, and it's not really stopping the spread in certain states. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't take anybody. You don't have to have a lot of knowledge to know that we're slowing it down right now, but we're not stopping it by any means. Not with 13,000 cases in a day. Definitely not stopping it.
Nope.
So,
no, sir.
So yeah.
I got a little clip here that I just want to play the audio to.
So now we're up to 14,000. You go ahead. 14,466 real quick new cases since yesterday. So go ahead, man. Let's hear the clip. Sorry. No?
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, this
There's
is
only one guy out here.
It's like, is there any responsibility? It's just 30-second clip.
All right, I like clips. Will I hear it?
Yeah.
All right.
The coronavirus. This is their new hoax. We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. When you have 15 people, and within a couple of days it's going to be down to close to zero, we really think we've done a great job in keeping it down to a minimum. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. No, I don't take responsibility at all. Priorities, say action.
He doesn't play or he doesn't take responsibilities
At all. Even though in like 2000, when the whole he put the buck stops at the top. If you're in charge, it stops with you. But I guess that doesn't apply to him.
Right. Definitely not.
Well, he's the chosen one. You know,
Yes.
he's God sent him, even though he's imperfect, to fix all the problems of the world.
Did you see? I should play this clip. Did you see that guy that he does like the? He does an impersonation of him about opening everything back up, and letting people go to church on Sunday, or on Easter.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
No, play it.
Can I play it?
Sure.
Dude, it's awesome. Let me. It's great, actually. It's not just awesome. It's pretty great.
250 years ago, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, whose full name, he was Jewish, so his full name might have been like Christowitz, but God rose him from the dead on a holiday we now call Easter. Not a lot of people know that, but it's called Easter. It's when Jesus and the 2 Corinthians met the Easter bunny and came back from the dead. It's a beautiful story, very important for the Christians like me. And I have decided, I'm announcing today, we are going to bring back the economy on Easter Sunday. Because God, who, to be honest, is, he's a good God. He's done some strong things. Let's be honest, his record is like not so great though. He brought one guy back on Easter Sunday, and it was his son, so it was kind of like biased. But we're going to bring back the entire economy on Easter Sunday. And at that point, I think basically I'm better than God. So when we do it, we're going to do it toughly. We're going to do it with great compassion, great strength, tremendous strength, and also toughness. Easter Sunday, we're going to put it on pay-per-view. God versus Trump. Who brings back more people on Easter Sunday? We're doing it. I'm going to fire Fauci probably on Good Friday and call it Great Friday for Trump. And that's it. So let's do it. Let's get perfect health. Let's get back to work. Jesus Christ, not as good as Trump.
Oh shit, that was good.
Right?
Nice.
That was pretty good.
The crazy part is we're listening in our ears, so we don't see a guy, and he
Right.
sounds so much like him.
he
like
sounds
the way,
great,
yeah,
man.
It's just hilarious.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's our guy.
Yeah, man. It's our prez, man.
Yeah,
Top notch, man.
makes me feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm proud to be an American. Fuck yeah, man. Somebody's got to lead, right?
Someone's got to be the tough.
Someone's got to be the guy.
Someone's got to be tough.
Someone's got to, yeah.
I just wish he was tough on pandemics and not, just tough on like, Iran.
I ran too far. What's that song? I ran. Was it the I don't know.
Iran.
What was that? The seagull or what were they?
Oh, flock of seagulls.
Right. I run so far away. Or whatever it is.
We had a run. Remember our song? Run, run, run.
Run, run. Yeah. That's a hit.
It was a hit. Bring it back.
Yeah, man.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back all the way from 2001.
2001.
2001.
All right. Now,
Mang and Neads show.
Any updates here?
What happened?
I'm just checking the Hopkins. We're still sitting and hanging.
John Hopkins.
It
Was
appears.
he was a great American, right?
I don't really know much about him. I imagine he was a doctor.
Well, let's.
Yeah, we are. We're at 118,592
We're gonna do a little history lesson
in the
then.
United States. Yeah, tell us about John.
I'm
14,000 new cases today, 241 deaths in the U.S. Italy had 919 deaths today. That's and 10,000 recovered. So that's like a half recovered, half died as far as today.
half today. Have you said?
It's 50-50.
Oh.
Like the survival in Italy right now, on like if you look at it on a daily basis, it's 50. No, I'm sorry, not 50-50. It's 10%. 10,000 people recovered. 919. No, total recovered is still about 50-50. Okay, and our number is finally better too. At the total recovered 2,465 to our 1,500. See, I was just worried. The John Hopkins does not have. I remember that from a couple days ago too. The recovered number is not populating as quickly. But then you go to like the Worldometer, and they're saying that there's 2,500 people recovered, as opposed to John Hopkins, it's saying 921 recovered in the U.S. Active cases in the United States is now 96,000. There are almost 2,500 people in serious or critical condition. And it's still at that 5 per 1 million in deaths. Jesus. So 5 per 1 million people, which has doubled in the last few days, where it was at 2. Yeah. Spain is at 106 per capita.
Phew.
Or per million.
Well, Spain.
It's not good. And Italy's 151. So they're not doing as great.
Right.
I mean,
they're not powerhouses like us either. But again, they don't have as many total cases. We have fucking 119,609 cases in the U.S. Man, they just keep pumping these numbers up, though. You know that?
yeah, they're just boom.
They're
boom.
just fucking someone sitting on the other end just adding to them as they get the results. Yeah, here's another, and another, and another.
Yeah, 57,000 cases worldwide today.
Jesus. Wait, what?
57,000 cases, new cases today, worldwide.
Worldwide.
So just because our number's huge, everybody else's numbers are pretty big considering as well.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just fucking doubling cases a day, though, from other countries.
Yeah, 3,000 people have died today. I mean, when you really put this into perspective, this is, we, year after year, we talk about we'll never forget what happened at 9/11.
Right. I wonder how long it'll be before we hit 1 million in the world. Next week sometime, you think, or what? If it keeps going, if the USA and Italy and Spain and Germany and France keep getting these numbers every day, it's going to be next week probably.
Right.
You would think by the end of next week, especially if the USA is getting 15,000 a day, new cases. And Italy's got 5 or 6, and Spain's got 6,000, and Germany's got 6,000, and France got about 5,000 new cases a day. That is just it's piling up, man. So,
it is.
China has they've slowed it the fuck down, man. If they're reporting true numbers, they've slowed it down. They haven't stopped it, but they've slowed it right down, man. You know what I mean? They were the high, and everybody else is behind them. Now they're number 3 in the world. And Spain's going to catch them in a day or two, probably 2 days. They'll have them by Monday. They'll be there, above them. Not something that you want, but
no, that's what I'm saying.
Just facts.
China's going down the list while everybody else is passing
right. With
their
their
numbers.
With their new cases and their deaths. Their deaths are about 3 a day or so right now. But that's what they're reporting. If their reporting's correct, then yeah, they're gonna slowly go down the list, and people are just gonna keep passing them. So it's not a good thing, obviously, any way you look at it. So basically you got you get down the list a little bit. Below France is Iran, and they got about they've got 35,408 cases total, and then the UK, which is below them in the list, they've got 17,089 cases. So, but they're getting like 2,500 cases a day, the UK. So, people are still like, man, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, man.
On March,
the only place it might not be is Antarctica.
On March 8th, there were 3,800 deaths. And here we are 20 days later, and we have almost 25,000 deaths.
No, in the whole country's 30.
Yeah, this is
Oh.
I'm sorry, hold on. Is this just the US? Yeah, no, this is total coronavirus, yeah. So my point is that this thing went from, even if we go to let's say when it hit 10,000 deaths, right? No, I guess 5,000 was on the 12th. So that was 2 weeks ago, and now that is five times. 5 times that. So if all these numbers continue to climb like this, when's it going to stop? Where's the end? Sky's the limit, right?
Sky's the limit.
500,000 cases, you imagine it could be millions and millions.
Yeah. It don't look real promising for a bit.
Yeah, and I don't really see how, putting everybody back out in the world is going to slow that down at all.
Right. They're saying what are they saying, Josh? They're saying that spots like I said earlier, New Jersey, Connecticut, like if they're going to open up stuff, they were leaning towards definitely not opening like us up. Basically the spots that aren't hot spots yet, which seems like they'll become hot spots. So
well,
if you open it, you know what I mean? If you let them go, fucking everybody back to work, restaurants are all open and stuff like that, there's going to be someone around there that had it that doesn't know they have it, and it's just going to spread again.
Right.
In other states. I'm not saying New York because it's already bad enough and they haven't quite got the grip on it yet, obviously. So, yeah. Mang and Neads show.
Well, my latest...
Sonic Garden Radio.
Yeah. Sonic Gardens Radio. Yeah, what else did I see? I saw something earlier.
What did you?
Oh, wait, I do have some information on John Jones here.
Uh-oh.
I'll bring that up again just for the heck of it.
Oh, boy.
Anybody wants to give us a call and let us know.
Talk about drinking and driving, supposedly. I guess there's nothing really to talk about with the UFC right now, so he won a fight. I don't really think he won the fight, but who the fuck am I, right?
It's almost
who the
like...
fuck am I? But anyway, so then he gets back in the news. He obviously out there just driving around, drinking, right? You got that, like he's got a little money, doesn't he?
Yeah, Jones was arrested early Thursday morning and charged with several misdemeanors, including aggravated DWI and negligent use of a firearm.
He's got money, right? Why doesn't he have a driver?
He tested at or above twice the legal limit when he was administered a breathalyzer test after being arrested, according to the criminal complaint.
Man, I would have a driver. Just for fucking, yeah. Hell yeah, I would have a driver. I have a couple of them. Riders and drivers. But, yeah. Sometimes you like to get around by yourself. So, yeah.
That
What?
Blockowitz, you remember the guy that won that fight against Corey Anderson? I think that's what it was. And then he called out John Jones in the crowd.
Right.
Yeah, he said, so he tweeted about this. He said, "Come on, John, you have to find a more clever way to hide from me than a jail."
Oh.
And then Reyes tweeted, "This is so unbelievable, it's almost laughable." Reyes tweeted adding hashtags of same old John, some champ, and sad.
Well, listen,
Thiago Santos, who
What'd he
nearly
say?
beat Jones on July 6, 2019, tweeted that it's time to strip Jones of this title.
He's still a badass. You can't take that away from him just because he fucking fucks around, drinks and drives, and done all that
That's-
shit.
yeah.
He still kicked everybody's fucking ass. Like, if you want to be an idiot and start tweeting him like that, he's still, like, I'll say whatever I want about him, but he still kicked ass, though.
Yeah,
He
it's like,
still did win. He still hasn't lost. Like, he
and
kicks
it is
ass.
outside of the deal, but yeah.
Right. But that don't take it away from him kicking ass. You can strip the shit, but he did. It's not like he didn't win it because you just take it from him. But he kicked their asses. He did. You know what I mean? I say, oh, he should have lost or whatever, but he won though. Like, no matter what you want to say, he did win. He won. So, like, I mean, stripping it. What's that do? Now what? Now you got to fight somebody else and say you're the champion when you didn't really beat the real champion because they took his belt. Come on. How's that really being a champion?
Right, that's what that Santos said. I think that me and Reyes should fight it out for the belt. And I don't know.
I mean,
man.
yeah, but they're gonna let John Jones at some fucking point come back, and he's gonna fight one of them two. And are you gonna be ready for him? Even if, like I said, I said he shouldn't have won that last fight, but he did win it. So he is the fucking champ, man. He's a badass. Like you said.
Yes,
water,
sir.
man. Drink water. Or don't.
But yeah, drink. You should keep yourself hydrated.
Yeah,
Keep
always
your.
hydrated.
Don't let your throat get dry.
Old rash throat.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, we definitely got our mark here.
All right.
If you want to, we can close this down.
All
We
right.
gave all the updates that we got for the day. Just like every other day that we've been doing this, by the end of today, these numbers are still going to skyrocket. And I'll be like checking the numbers.
We'll be back on the Lord's Day tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be checking the numbers, and we're gonna see. We're averaging around 18,000 the last couple days. So
Right. It's not a good thing.
so today is also
what do you think?
today's up 15,000, and yeah, we're dealing. It's only 4:00, so
Right.
Yeah, so
Not
these
to
numbers,
mention 292 deaths. Ooh,
yeah,
that blows.
that's just in
Man, Italy
US.
though. Italy's still fucking racking the death up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're per capita 166 right
Jesus,
now
for every million.
for every million person compared to our 6. We did go up.
We did. We went up.
Yep.
Went up since yesterday. We've gone up 2, I believe.
World is
no,
3.
1, but
Yeah.
since Thursday we went up from. It was like at 3. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were saying a few days ago. It was 2 or
Oh.
3.
Yeah, go over the world numbers though.
So the world
About the
number is
death.
3.9
Oh.
per 1 million. So that puts us at yeah, I mean, do that.
So the first reported case was January 10th. They're saying in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. And USA, their first reported case was January 20th. Italy, January 29th was their first reported case.
Yeah, so that's like dude. Yeah, it took 10 days to spread around the whole world.
Right. Fuck. Jesus. Iran didn't not until February 18th, but they're just running rapid over there too. Iran, they're gonna catch everybody. You know what I mean? If they didn't, like, there's January 30th for Spain, January 26th and 23rd, but Iran was February 18th, and they're already up there, 35,408. Like, ooh. But their country's not,
Biggest loser competition right here.
yeah. Yeah. You got that right. It's a mAng and Neads show, Sonic Garden Radio.
Yeah.
He's
so
mAng.
tune in. We're keeping this going every
Neads.
day. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers.
Hit the little
if
red
you
bar.
could,
Says
hit the little subscribe, hit the bell
Hit
We'll
the
let
bell.
you know when we go live. Looks like we fixed our little kinks.
So we
in
should
our
be
live
2 or
show.
2:30 tomorrow. We'll send out a goddamn and let you know.
Yeah, maybe we should just maybe we should stick with the 3 o'clock because I noticed I've been cutting it close. With,
You're
getting
fucking
here.
slacking.
I've been
man.
working on this floor at home, and
I got excuses too, but I was here. But
I know. Excuses are like assholes.
I guess. Well, I'm an
Everybody's
asshole
got
for
one.
sure. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be here to keep you updated. Say some other random shit, some stuff we do know, some stuff we don't know. Mang and Neads show.
Yeah.
You got a song? Can we leave with a song?
I'm gonna keep going with that tune I was rocking
Oh,
earlier.
we're gonna come
We'll
back
fade
into it. It's
that
like
out.
a interlude in between it all is us. So, like again, man, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching.
All right.
We're happy to be here.
Sonic Gardens Radio, Mang and Neads show.
Strong and we're